In this video, I'm going to show you how I feed all of my different ant colonies. I'm also going to give you a small update on how the ants are doing and a peek inside of their nests. Keep watching to the end of the video to see the two biggest colonies in my collection. Camponotus vestitus is the slowest growing colony in my collection with the least amount of workers. The colony is very small, so I only feed them 2 chunks of a mealworm. If we take a look inside of the test tube, we can see that the colony is doing great. The colony doesn't have a lot of brood, but their gasters are filled with food. The water inside of the test tube is almost dried up, but this is not a problem because I am currently building them and the next colony a new nest. This is my colony of Tetramorium ants, and they are the smallest ants in my collection. The workers of this colony is very shy and not hunters, but sometimes they love to play with their food. The outworld of this colony is full of dead mealworms, and I will need to clean it in the near future. Inside of the test tube, we can see that the ants have a lot of brood, unlike the previous colony. With this amount of brood, we can safely say that the colony will double in size in the following month. These ants are very messy and have pooped everywhere on top of the test tube, making it difficult for me to film them and see inside of their nest. Now we can move on to the larger colonies in my collection that already have their own nests. This Camponotus maculatus ant colony is the most beautiful colony in my collection. These ants love to drink their honey and rarely go outside of their nests. If you take a closer look at the gasters of these ants, you can see the honey and mealworm juices inside of them. This colony has just gotten their first major or soldier ant. The majors of this species will have black heads just like the queens, but the workers have orange heads. This colony loves a dried nest and doesn't like it when I fill their water tower up completely. Next is my colony of Camponotus eugeniae ants. The queen and soldiers of this colony is the biggest ants in my collection. Unlike the previous colony, these ants love a well-hydrated nest and will always keep their brood and ants on top of the water tower. The nest this colony is living in is a bit too big for them, which could cause a big problem. If the nest is too big for the colony, they will leave all of their garbage inside of the nest, which will cause mold and diseases. If we take a look at the outworld, you will see that the foil, which contains all of their honey, is filled with sand. Whenever I feed some honey to these ants, they will immediately start filling it up with sand. This is because they want to prevent other predators or other insects to get their food by hiding it inside of the sand. This colony is very tidy and organized, with a dedicated garbage dump. Now it is time for the 2 biggest colonies in my collection, so let us begin with this Droptail colony. I've recently built these ants a new outworld with a lot of tunnels. I've built these tunnels to see how the ants drag their food from the outworld back to the nest. Like most ant colonies, they drag their food back to their nest to ensure that other ants or insects don't steal their food. Inside of the nest, the workers can now start preparing the mealworm pieces for the queen and brood. If you look closely, you will realize that all of the brood is piled up in a corner of the nest. This is because in that corner lies the water tower. After all of the mealworm juices have been fed to the queen and the brood, the workers will take the mealworm carcasses back to the outworld. Camponotus auropubens is the biggest colony in my collection, which means that they need the most amount of food. This colony consists out of 4 different nests, with each having their own shapes and purpose. These nests are connected with one singular tube, which can easily be removed. This is the most recent addition to the nest and is filled with garbage. The nest doesn't have any workers inside of it, and the entrance seemed to be blocked off, so I have decided to remove the nest and investigate. The tube seemed to be blocked off with sand and poop, so I have decided to remove it and reinsert the nest. After the nest was put back into place, the ants seemed to just relax on top of the water tower and further bring in more garbage. It seemed like this nest has officially turned into their indoor garbage dump. Inside of the other nests, the colony is doing great, with a lot of brood and eggs, which means that the queen is healthy. Thanks for watching, and please consider watching this video where I show you all of the queen ants I've caught so far this year.